having a very skewed vision of the world. And he became a knight himself, largely to find out who his father was and to try and make as much money as possible. Okay, is that better? We good now? Okay. He's lame of leg, but quick of wit. Just last week, we published a new edition, a brand new adventure of Sir Apropos of Nothing, the first in 10 years. Absolutely nobody asked for it, we did it anyway. And I'm going to read you a section of the first chapter. Now, although he's lived a kind of medieval existence, I decided to send him to ancient Egypt. Why the hell not? Now, I couldn't decide whether to send him to Rome or to Egypt. So I made up a plan called Rogent. Okay? When he's fairly newly arrived in Rogent, he is taking a bath in the street, bathing himself in the street. And while he's there, he sees a young mother come to the edge of the water with a baby in a basket. She puts the baby, she starts to lower the basket toward the water. Apropos, thinking that she is about to drown this child, shouts an alarm. And she is appalled, and she says, no, I'm not going to drown you. He says, well, obviously you are. Two guards who work for the ruler, who is called the Rama, hear Apropos shouts and show up. They recognize her as being a member of the slave race called the Shews, S-H-E-W. And the Rama has a decree out that all firstborn male children of the Shews are to be slain. And to Apropos' horror, they kill the baby, right in front of the mother and of him. Apropos is so horrified by what has happened, and he feels responsible for it, especially when the mother says to him after the guards have left, I wasn't going to drown him, I was going to send him floating away to try and save his life. Apropos, devastated by what he has witnessed, heads off into the desert. He doesn't know where he's going, he doesn't care. If he dies, he's really going to be okay with that. And at this point, he sees in the distance an oasis. The closer I got, the more I started to notice something, and it caused my heart to sink. Some fool, or perhaps a malicious bastard, had set the oasis on fire. I dismissed it out of hand, the idea that perhaps a sun had done it. This was definitely the hand of some fire-setting monster who had, for some deep-seated idiotic reason, decided they wanted to burn down one of the few areas of vegetation in the desert. I hurried as quickly as my lame leg would allow me. I reasoned that the flames would spread rapidly and could conceivably poison whatever water was there, filled with smoke and ash and make it undrinkable. But then I saw something that made no sense to me at all. The flame was contained to what seemed to be a single, large bush. None of the surrounding area was catching fire. How could that possibly be? It was fire's nature to spread as fast as it could. What was keeping it in one place? I had been running, or at least running as best as I was capable, more akin to accelerated limping. But now I slowed down and studied the burning bush. My first impression was correct. It was burning, but it wasn't. It was fully intact. How? I whispered to myself. And then, as if in answer, a voice bellowed at me. Remove your shoes, for you are on holy ground. I stared, uncomprehending. What? Remove your shoes, for you are on holy ground. Very slowly I approached the bush, still not understanding. But I knew one thing. I had no intention of going barefoot. I'm not removing anything. The ground is hot. It's been baking under the sun. I'll burn my feet. You disobey me? I don't want to burn my feet, okay? Do you have a problem with that? Do you want me to be in pain? What sort of sadistic bastard are you? And for that matter, where are you hiding? Behind the bush? I am the bush. You're a talking bush? That makes no sense at all. What kind of bush talks? Your vegetation. Seriously, where are you really? The bush actually admitted an annoyed sigh. I am the Lord, your God. Hear my what now? The Lord, your God. I digested that for a moment. I was quite sure by this point that this was a magic weaver of some manner, who was indulging in a strange, elaborate prank. But I decided to play along with it. The Lord my God. Yes. To be truthful, I really don't have much truck with gods. They've never answered my prayers in all my years. Honestly, they seem to exist mainly to torment the poor mortals who walk the world. So if you're looking for me to worship you or something, then I'm afraid you have a problem. The bush appeared to consider that. This is not going the way that I had anticipated, he finally said. Well, I don't see how that's my problem. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm just going to fill up my pouch with water and be on my way. So this has been really entertaining, but I'm going to... At that moment, a lightning bolt ripped down from overhead. It struck the ground 3 feet away from me with such force that the sand was instantly transformed into smoking glass. I stared at it and then turned back to the bush. Or we could continue to converse. You have committed a grave offense this day, apropos, it said. That startled me because I knew I had not introduced myself. It wasn't my custom to give my name to inanimate objects. It continued, it is my desire to free the shoes of their bondage in Rojit. I had someone planned to be their liberator, to speak on my behalf, to go to the Rama and demand that he let my people go. Okay, so he died in your presence today. It took me a few moments to understand what the voice was referring to, but then I did. The baby? He was supposed to be their savior? Yes, the princess would have found him, raised him. He would have been part of the Rama's court. He would have learned, grown, and become the leader that is required to free the shoes. And now, that will never happen. But if you're a god, can't you raise him from the dead or something? I am not a god. I am the God. And I am not that sort of God. What happens is what happens because of free will. Yes, well, free will isn't exactly the best idea you've ever had. So what now? So the shoes need someone to free them. You are responsible for the death of their Savior. Therefore, you must undertake his burden. Excuse me? I'm supposed to do what now? Free the shoes. And how exactly am I going to do that? You will go to the Rama and say that I, the Lord God, command him to let my people go. And are you going to be there with me? Yes. In person? No, I do not do personal appearances. Well, then how the hell am I supposed to convince him? Tell him he has to listen to me because some flaming shrubbery told me so? Tell the leaders of the shoes. Get them to believe in you. Then confront the Rama. You are performing an act of God. Which God? I said in frustration. I mean, I'm still not 100% sure. I don't believe there's someone throwing this voice. What is your name? I am what I am. I have no idea what that means. You cannot know my real name. Why not? Is it a secret? Why would it be a secret? What kind of God keeps his name a secret? Just tell them you have spoken to me, their Lord and God. But I don't know which God you are. He was beginning to sound impatient. I am the one true God. There are no gods before me. There are plenty of gods before you. I've heard a couple dozen in different countries all over the world. And they all have their own origins and names and all sorts of things. And he won't even tell me, Bob! God, my name is Bob, all right? I frowned at that. Bob? What a strange name. I've never heard of anyone named Bob. I mean, it's barely a sound, much less a name. You wanted to know my name is Bob. Someday it's going to be very popular. Happy? Are you sure, I said suspiciously, that you're not just telling me that to get me to stop talking? At which point a second bolt of lightning erupted from on high and struck the ground directly between my feet. I stumbled backwards and fell, staring upward. Fine, it's Bob, I said quickly. Your name is Bob. I'm completely in agreement with that. Go and free the shoes. I still don't know how. Figure it out. Or the next lightning bolt won't miss. Understood. The burning bush immediately snuffed out. The leaves and branches were completely undamaged. At that point, I still had no idea of how to react. The Weaver theory still seemed a viable one, but the notion that there was genuinely some manner of sky god who had targeted me to do his work for him seemed a fully viable option. So now I had to go and free the shoes, or get electrocuted from on high. No problem. And that is from the first chapter. Excuse me while I whip this up. Yes, everyone's got cups except the guy who's actually here. Now, if anyone wants to, buy a copy of that, yes. I am down at my table. Well, not right now I'm here. But I have a table in Artist Alley, HH16. It's really very well positioned. I'm right by the door. So it's great because I sit there as I watch 5,000 people go running right past me. So I was like, wow, no one gives a damn that I'm here. But you're all here, so now I feel a lot better. And I have this. Which I'm going to, how the hell am I getting this thing on?
That's what the box is for.
There's a box?
Put it in the box.
Oh, that's the box. Okay, cool.
I.e. shipping container.
I.e. shipping container. Yeah, okay, that'll be good. I'll pack that sucker up. This is so freaking cool. Who designed this anyway? Anyone? Do we know who designed this statue?
I don't know who designed it.
Oh, okay.
I can find out for you.
I really, it kind of looks like Sergio. I mean, I doubt it. Sergio is great. There's one panel every year I always go to. It's called Quick Draw. And Sergio's on it, and Scott Straw's on it, and a third person is always on it. And it is such a fun panel. So that's on Saturday. And you don't have to stand on massive lines to get in, because it's in a humongous room. So you can just show up and get there. And Mark Evanio runs it as he runs about a third of the panel at this meeting event. So, like I said, this is my most recent work.
What's the title?
Okay, well, apropos, since he goes to Rojift and has to free the shoes, and he also unleashes a mummy's curse, and this is titled Pyramid Schemes. I love one person moans. The character's name is Sir Apropos of Nothing. And I love when people come up to me and say, I love your books about Sir Apropos. Really? Really? Seriously, dude? Although, actually, there were three books before this one. I also have the first one down on my table. The second one, I called The Woad to Wooin. W-O-A-D, because he has woad on his face, and wooing is a place. Somebody told me that they went to their bookstore and asked if they had a copy of a book called The Woad to Wooin. And the guy looks it up and he says, no, who's the author? And she tells him, and he looks it up and he goes, oh my God. And she says, what? And he says, that's really the title. I thought you just couldn't say the letter R. I looked up Road to Ruin, and we didn't have that. But then, Road to Ruin, that we had. So that was like a note to me, never title something that could be misunderstood by the guy who's going to look it up at the Barnes & Noble, because Borders is coming. What else? Okay, various projects that I'm working on. I've been writing various adventures for it's not exactly a video game. You can download it onto your iPad and that kind of thing. It's called Marvel Future Fight. And I write all the stories for that, which is really entertaining. I don't really pretend to understand how the game works. My wife plays it very vividly. I have no freaking clue how this thing operates. But I'm told it's very entertaining. And millions of people are downloading it, not as many as are playing Pokemon Go, including my daughter. Which I absolutely love Pokemon Go because people are now exercising. Everyone's walking around to find the Pokemon. And people are putting up tweets about, wow, my legs are really tired. Well, of course your legs are really tired. You sit around playing video games all the time, you dumb schmuck. Go around and walk around a bit. That's what you should be doing. I continue to write Spider-Man 2099 for Marvel Comics and Stephen King's Dark Tower. No applause to Stephen King. Dark Tower. Let's try it again. Anna writes Stephen King's Dark Tower. I love having the mic. You can manipulate people's words. Actually, we were only supposed to do the first book. We incorporated large patches of book 4, but we were really only supposed to bring Roland up through the end of the first Gunslinger book. Now, as I'm sure probably everyone in this room knows, because it was all over the internet, 3.5 years ago I had a stroke. We were down in Florida on vacation. And after I was in the hospital for 10 days, and yeah, the doctor was very helpful. He told my wife that 90% of the people who have this stroke die. So she may have to make some tough choices. Thanks, Doc! So after I was there, I was transferred to a recovery center in Jacksonville, Florida, where my oldest daughter lives. And while I was in the recovery center, I get an email from Steve. And he says, hi, I'm down in Florida. I'd love to drive up and visit you. And I went, sure, right? So Steve drives 5 freaking hours. I figured he was in Jacksonville the area. No, he drove 5 freaking hours to come visit me in Jacksonville. And what was great was that the people who were in the center were looking at him like, I know this guy. Where do I know this guy? I could always tell when someone had gone to the sign-in sheet to check who he was, because they go, every so often I would hear, oh my God! And while Steve was there, I said to him, and this was absolutely true, I said, you know, one of the most asked questions I get from the fans is, when are we going to start doing book 2 of Dark Tower? They want to see Eddie, they want to see Susanna, they want to see the rest of Roland's quartet. And Steve says, really? And I said, absolutely. And he says, okay, then we'll do more. And a couple of weeks later, I get a very surprised call from my editor who says, hey Peter, guess what? We're going to be doing more Dark Tower. So, you know, thank God I had a stroke. More work. Actually, Steve was wonderful because I was going to be heading home a few days after that. When I checked in at the center, they told me I'd be there for 8 weeks, and I'd probably be leaving in a wheelchair. I left in 5 weeks, and I left walking, leaning on a cane. So I'm very pleased. This was in February, and there were like snowstorms happening at the time. And we had flight booked on Delta for Saturday at 3 p.m. And I get an email from Steve's secretary, or assistant, on Thursday, and she said, on Wednesday, she says, Steve wants you to know that because of the weather and everything, he would be willing to send his private plane down to come fly you back home. And I wrote back and I said, well, that's not really necessary. I have, you know, seats on Delta and we're booked and we're okay. But then I started thinking about it and I thought, well, you know, with all the snow coming down, maybe they're going to cancel my flight. It had happened to me some years earlier when I got snowed in Orlando, Florida, at the end of a convention because there was a massive snowstorm up east and they shut down everything. So I decided I'll call Delta. And this is about 7 p.m. And I get a recording that says, Hi, we're basically getting a butt ton of phone calls. However, if you would like, leave your phone number and we will call you back in 3 hours. And I went, okay, well, it's 7 o'clock now, they'll call by 10. I'll be up at 10. So fine, I left my number. 10 o'clock comes and goes. 11 p.m. comes and goes. At 4 o'clock in the morning, my phone rings. Hello, this is Delta. You're going to be the next person we speak to. Half an hour later, I basically go, oh my freaking God. And I happen to be reading my email, and I have another email from Steve's assistant, and she's saying, Steve just wants you to know that this is not a twin-engine prop job. This is a commercial airline. Commercial plane. And I wrote back and I said, fine, I'm on board. And I hung up on Delta, and that was it as far as I was concerned. And Steve's plane came in. I got out on a Friday. His plane flew down on the Friday. I left at Saturday, as it turned out, at 3 o'clock. Because that was the first time we were able to get clearance to lift off. We left at 3 p.m. on the Saturday, the exact same time that the Delta flight was supposed to go. When did the Delta flight leave? 9 p.m. So it was like, yay! Good choice on my part. And what was great was we didn't come into JFK, we didn't come into LaGuardia. We came into a nice, small, private airport that was 20 minutes from my house. So, thank you, Steve. It was great. So it's like nowadays, if anyone criticizes Stephen King, I'm like, screw you, we got me home. So look at that, Dark Tower, Spider-Man 29, Freedom Fight. Pyramid Schemes, I just finished. The next novel that I'm working on is finally the 3rd book in the Hidden Earth trilogy. The first 2 have come out some years back. I am now finally writing the 3rd novel of that one, which will be ready sometime next year. And I hope that you all buy it because The Hidden Earth is a lot of fun. And let's see, what else am I working on? I have projects that I cannot tell you about because I signed non-disclosure agreements. So, that is mildly irritating. Although I will tell you that I actually do have some film interest in a property of mine that I wrote that I've written called Fallen Angel. So I would be thrilled if there was a Fallen Angel movie, and maybe this time next year, if I'm back in San Diego, I'll be able to tell you about what's going on with Fallen Angel. Star Trek novels. I'm not writing any at the moment. I write to my editor on a semi-regular basis, like every month or 2, and say, so, more Star Trek novels? And he never writes back. So, that's very optimistic. The last Trek novels that I wrote, in case you guys don't know, I've been writing a series called Star Trek: The New Frontier. And last summer, we did 3 ebooks that were released on Amazon called The Return. I have no idea why it's called The Return, but I called it The Return, singular, and, well, return isn't plural, but whatever. And they changed it to Return for no particular reason that I know of. And it actually, if taken as a single volume, would be the single longest New Frontier novel I ever wrote, because it's a total of 150,000 words. Is that right? Yeah. So if you want to read the single longest New Frontier novel ever, go read The Return. And right now it's only on ebooks. One of the things I've been asking the editor is, are we going to release it as an actual book? I mean, all the work's done. You don't have to pay me anything else. So that would be very nice. But haven't heard movement. So that's a little bit disappointing and frustrating, but welcome to publishing. And that's pretty much all the stuff that I have. Oh, no. At this convention, they're releasing the first issue of a comic book adaptation of a novel of mine. Some years ago, a couple years ago, I was reading Oliver Twist. And I started to notice some things about Fagin. He never comes out during the day. He never eats anything. He never drinks anything. Bill Sykes even comments on the fact that he never sees Fagin drink anything, and he buys him a drink in a pub, which Fagin then proceeds to not drink. And at one point, and this is in the book, Dickens describes Fagin as having no teeth except for a couple of fangs like a dog's. And I'm reading all this and I went, holy crap! Fagin's a vampire! He has to be! No teeth except for a couple of fangs? Come on! And indeed, if you read Oliver Twist, there's also a villain in that who shows up for one chapter named Mr. Fang. Now, we all know Dickensian names imply that there's things about the character that are part of his name. The guy's name is Mr. Fang, you know. And Fagin is I Fang if you rearrange the letters very slightly. There you go. So I came up with Artful, in which the Artful Dodger, some years older, but not necessarily any wiser, finds out about a vampire conspiracy in London. His only allies to try and stop the vampires are a teenage girl who introduces herself as Alexandrina, which is her first name, but her full name is Alexandrina Victoria, and she's the next Queen of England, and an 8-year-old Dutch boy who says he knows everything there is to know about vampires, and his name is Abraham Van Helsing. Because if you look at the timeline of Dracula versus Oliver Twist, that's about how old Van Helsing would be at the time. So I wound up producing a screenplay of it, because why not? And a publisher whose name I forget, oh my God, I've forgotten the name of the publisher, was interested in doing a comic book adaptation of Artful. And I said, great, and I sent him the script. And he gave it to a wonderful artist, and I forget her name as well. See, this is what happens when you turn 59 and have had a stroke. Your memory's like, shh. I mean, people come up to me, and I don't remember them. I could have gone out to dinner with them, and I don't remember them. But they wound up taking the screenplay and adapting it into a comic book. So if you were interested in watching the Artful Dodger try to take on vampires, look around for some damn publisher and see if you can find out. Let's see, hold on, maybe I can find them on my phone. Let's see if I'm on the internet. Okay. But at any rate, so look around and see if you can find them. I'll put Artful in here and see if it comes up. What? Or you can just come, I actually have copies of the book, so you can always come down to my table, which is at H116, and buy a copy. Okay, it's Brian Seat is the publisher. And I have, oh, here we go, Action Lab. Okay, I found it. Action Lab is where you can find the comic book, or come to HH16 and just buy the novel from me. At any rate, so that's what I have going on in terms of comic books. That's what I have going on in terms of television and movies. That's what's going on in my life. It is now 11 o'clock. Does anyone have any questions? Oh, thank God. One guy has a question on it, so this is two people have questions. Okay, yeah.
Actually, I looked it up.
Oh, hi, Tom.
My God, you recognize me.
Yeah. I've known Tom for how many years? 30 years?
30 plus.
I will never forget this. Tom and I were walking around, I think it was either San Diego or I think it was WonderCon. We're walking around in the dealer's room. And Tom is saying to me, you had a great convention. So many people, you signed so many autographs. And I said, yeah, but I kind of wonder who's going to be the one guy. Tom said, what do you mean the one guy? And I said, there's going to be one person who I have somehow managed to piss off. And he's going to go on the internet and talk about what a dick I am. And immediately people are going to go, oh yeah, I heard Peter David's a real dick. And a guy suddenly walks up to me and says, oh hi, could you sign this? and he hands me a comic book I have not written, published by a company I have never heard of, featuring characters I don't know who they are. And I say to him, well, I actually would rather not sign this because I didn't write it. And I'll feel like I'm taking credit for somebody else's work. And he says, I don't care, just sign it. And I said, well, I care about it. So I would really I'd rather not sign this. And I say, do you have anything else? A program book, a piece of paper. And the guy angrily says, no, forget it. I'm sorry to have bothered you. And he stalks off. And Tom's there like, and I say very calmly, there he is. He waited until after the convention was over. But he showed up, and he's now going to go on the internet and said, I walked up to Peter David while he was just standing around doing nothing, and he refused to sign an autograph for me. That bastard. There he is. But yeah, Tom, do you remember that?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So what are you going to say?
Action Lab is at booth 2006.
Oh, okay. Action Lab. I see, this is why I love conventions. Because whenever there's anything I don't know, and believe me, I don't know a lot, someone in the audience is going to be able to supply the question. It's to supply the answer. It's like when Monty Python would go around and do their sketches in front of a live audience. And at one point, John Cleese was doing the Dead Paris sketch, and he forgot his next line. And he turned to the audience and said, what do I say next? And the audience immediately just, they all shouted it out. He said, thank you. And he went right on. It was great. I love Monty Python. My daughter Gwen was taking an art class in Boston, at Boston University. And the art teacher says, okay, today we're going to be discussing art in relation to the Spanish Inquisition. What can you tell me about the Spanish Inquisition? And my daughter immediately says, raise your hand, and she says, it was unexpected. The teacher falls down laughing. The rest of the class sits there and has no what the hell she is referring to. They're going like, it was what? I don't understand. And the teacher's like, can't explain it, never mind. So yeah, there was a quick 15 minutes. Wow, okay, I shall take 14 minutes and 30 seconds to answer this one freaking question. Yeah.
So, in terms of Star Trek, do you have any interest in working in the movie universe or the upcoming TV show? And just generally, what's your opinion of where Star Trek is creatively right now?
Well, okay, first off, do I want to work in a medium that would pay me hundreds of thousands of dollars to write fiction about something that I've been enjoying since I was in 7th grade? Yes. I'm definitely on board. It will likely never happen. I mean, a lot of people have said, we want to see the New Frontier as a Star Trek TV series. Yes, so do I. Won't happen. I mean, Majel Barrett tried to convince the Star Trek office to do Q and Law as an episode of Star Trek. She tried for several seasons, and their attitude was, we can't do it because it was already a book. And I'm sitting there going, right, because you never do books as TV shows or movies. Right? If it was already a book, we don't have to do a movie of it. The Exorcist. I mean, come on, you know? What do I think of the direction that Star Trek is going? Okay, so you're asking me about two things. You're asking me about the J.J. Abrams movies, and you're asking me about the new series on CBS, about which I know absolutely nothing. Okay, we'll do it in reverse order. The new series, oh, hello, Captain Marvel. Hi there. My daughter, there's someone down in the deals room who's selling these beautiful, like, sweat jackets of Captain Marvel, oh no, Ms. Marvel, right, of Ms. Marvel's shirt, and my daughter got one, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. So you should go down there and get that. They're in the $1,300 range. No, not the price. I mean, they're hey, it's San Diego. $1,300 is really not out of the realm of possibility for these folks around here. I meant it's in the 1300 block. Are you guys all here for me, or are you here for the nice person in this room? Yeah.
The writer of Ms. Marvel got next.
Oh, perfect. Well, that explains the sudden influx of Ms. Marvel here. Okay. 15 minutes. They already held up to 15 minutes. Do I get another 15 minutes? Great, we're going to 11:45. Okie dokie. So, what was I talking? All right, Star Trek. Okay. The TV show. I can't comment on the TV show because I know absolutely nothing about it. All I know about it is what I read on the internet. I can tell you that